that will end our, we will adjourn our board meeting, and we will begin our presentation by Mr. Tim Baker. FYI, I just assume everybody knows Tim. Tim and I joined Apple Core Dallas both back in 1992 at the InfoMart days, and he's famous for being the organizer and president of the Fort Worth chapter of the Apple user group. But we've had a close relationship between our groups for a long time, and know Tim well, and we're happy to have him here. So I'm going to turn things over to you, Tim.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. And it's the Cowtown Macintosh user group in Fort Worth, Texas that myself and Scott Hulsey founded back, I think, in like 1989. So yeah, we enjoyed those early years at the InfoMart. So I'm going to get my presentation up on the screen here, if I can do that. I guess it went full screen. Let me see. All right, here we go. Get everybody. There we go.
Tim, can we record this?
I don't know why not. I don't know that I have anything copyrighted in here, you know. My plan today is obviously to just have some fun. This is just an introduction to the terminal. This is, you know, there's not going to be anything particularly advanced in here. I just, you know, I just hope that you enjoy the show. I worked, I did work hard to put this together, and I hope my effort shows. So as far as recording, it's certainly fine with me.
Apparently, the host has to grant permission.
This is Richard Lynch. I see a recording indication in the upper left corner of my screen, so it looks like Taylor has already done that.
Okay.
Yes, the meeting is being recorded as announced at the beginning of the meeting. We're recording, so.
Thank you.
This is a recording. Okay. All right. So today we're going to show the Mac who's boss. All right. And like I said before, thank you for having me back. This is actually my third presentation. My first one was on a Hackintosh, and my second one was on Macintosh emulation, showing all the old Mac OSs. And this time it's an introduction to the terminal. So I always enjoy doing this, and I hope that y'all find it particularly interesting. So September 2020, here I am. And tomorrow, 20 years ago, oddly enough, Mac OS 10 public beta was released. Kodiak as was the code name. And the public beta says my internet connection is unstable. Okay. Can y'all see that okay?
Yes, but you did fade out for a minute and then you came back.
Okay. All right. My apologies. I'm sorry. I'm at a little bit of a handicap. I'm over in Monroe, Louisiana this weekend I just attended a funeral yesterday to my house where I have fiber. So please let me know if there's something that y'all missed so I can repeat it. So anyway, 20 years ago tomorrow, the public beta was released to the world. And you know, if y'all remember the keynote, Steve Jobs described the new elegant Aqua interface, saying that they made the buttons look so good you want to lick them. So what happened when OS 10 came out is it has an underpinning now of an
FYI, Tim, I don't know if you can hear me, but you faded out.
So here is basically a structure of how OS 10 was made up, with Aqua being on the top, your user interface, and then underneath that, all of these other additional layers. And here's actually where Darwin, the core OS resides. And this is kind of where we'll be in the terminal. This is where the terminal talks to for the most part. So my goal today is for you to come away from this going, I'm no longer intimidated by the terminal. So hopefully you'll come away with some little bit of basic knowledge, and whenever you see an article or look in a book or read a magazine or get on the internet and it says, open your terminal, you won't be intimidated. So basically the command line interface, or excuse me, the command line interpreter came along before the graphical user interface. And I know a lot of you are familiar with you know, the Apple II, with DOS, IBM DOS, so forth and so on, before the GUI came along. And obviously that's when computers became much more user-friendly and easier to use. This was actually my first experience with the terminal. My first hands-on experience with a computer, actually. My dad worked for General Electric back in the 60s and 70s when Dartmouth College and the Advanced Systems Lab in Phoenix created the first time-sharing computer system. So we actually had one of these terminals in our house. And so I was able to get my hands on back in the 60s and 70s and play with the fellow typewriter. And I have a kind of a short, interesting story that when I was a senior in high school in 1969, when our high school started teaching computer science, they brought one of these in, and I was a custodian at the school. And I told the math coach at that time, I said, you know, I have one of these in my house. And he's like, no, you don't, you know. And I had to prove it by asking him if I could just sit down and show him how I could log into the mainframe in Dallas and play tic-tac-toe. It was fun. So today, the terminal resides in your applications folder within the utilities folder right there. And that's what the icon looks like. And some of you have probably already experimented, and some of you may even be more knowledgeable than myself. But basically, we're going to start from like you didn't know anything about the terminal. So it's found in the utilities folder within the applications folder. When you launch it, you see something like this. And, you know, it's kind of intimidating looking. You know, there's certainly nothing lickable there. You know, and you're saying, well, okay, so what does this thing do? There's no buttons to press. There's no switches, or, you know, there's no clue what to do at this point. So the question is why does this app exist? So fortunately, it's the most single powerful tool on your Mac. There are not buttons and sliders and checkboxes for actually everything on the Mac. There are things that you can do in the terminal to tweak your Mac. You overcome the limitations of the graphical user interface. When you go into the terminal, you're able to control functions of the computer that are not offered in the GUI. So someday, like I said, you're going to come across a dialog box or a magazine article or something like this. It's going to have, you know, these odd-looking entries, and some will be brave enough to move on and perform these steps. This one restores the startup chime in the Macs beginning in 2016, where those of you that have Macs that were manufactured in 2016 and newer, you'll notice that when you open them up or turn them on, there's no chime. And this terminal command basically will allow you to restore that function, and it's a joy to be able to return that startup chime to your Mac. The other thing is it can just be fun to play around with the terminal. There's a few things that I'll show you that I hope that you enjoy. It's not just a movie prop. So I know you've seen movies like that had screens like this in them, and hopefully this is not your screen. So a couple of my favorite movies that are computer related that I really enjoy. The first one was War Games, came back in the late 80s, and then the Net, which was partially filmed at Macworld in January of 1985 in San Francisco. And when you watch the movie, you can see several of the vendors that were present at that Macworld back in 1995. So we'll progress on here and see if we can learn some basics. So I hope everybody can hear me okay. I don't hear anybody else, so it's kind of odd looking at a screen and speaking. I feel like I'm talking to myself here. So
I'm hearing you fine.
okay, great. Yeah, it's you know, it's really nice to be able to do a live presentation when you can actually see the reactions in people's faces, because I don't see you guys. So I mean, I don't know if we're, you know, if people are dozing off or, you know, are enjoying the show here. So for the most part, we'll learn a few basics here. So this is when you open up the terminal, first thing that you see. And this is the shell environment. So, and at the top of the window here, it explains to you what the current directory is, the directory that you're in. And as you move on, this is actually the process that the terminal is running in the middle. And as you perform a terminal function, you'll actually see that area flash a lot of gibberish. And then here is actual character resolution. So 80 characters by 24 characters. So it's not pixels, that's actually characters. So 80 characters wide by 24 characters tall. So, and this is what they call the prompt. And a couple of symbols that this would be the cursor. But for the most part, this is where you're going to kind of learn the language of the terminal here. So this is called the command. So the command would be something like you would say in human terms, like, okay, eat, you know, and then the next command is, okay, so this is kind of out of order here, I apologize. So we'll pass on. So the argument would be, well, what do I eat? Well, you would say, like, you would eat cereal, say, for instance. And then the flag or the option would be, well, how do you want me to eat that cereal? You know, so you'd say, well, I want you to eat it fast. So that's where the command and the flag option or the argument come in. You're basically telling the terminal that what you want it to do, how you want it to do it, and how flipping through my notes here, sorry. So basic navigation, there's some basic terms that we're going to have to be familiar with. The fact that these are some symbols that you'll need to learn. We'll now start beginning to we need to refer to folders that you're commonly seeing on the desktop. In the terminal, they are called directories. So directory is a folder, and the fact that this is what they call a forward slash. And this is a forward slash. You'll have to get used to using the forward slash when you navigate the terminal, because the backslash basically is a reserved character used for what they call an escape space. So the terminal doesn't understand necessarily spaces. If you leave a space in a statement, it thinks that it's the next command or argument or option. So for the most part, you use what they call an escape space, and I can show that to you shortly. And also the backslash is basically, you know, you're probably, if you've ever used DOS, you know, familiar with Windows, you know, uses a backslash. So, but on the Mac in the terminal, a folder is a directory, and you will navigate using the forward slash. And the symbol up in the upper left-hand corner of your keyboard, all of you have probably seen this, is called the tilde. And that refers to your home directory. So, and I know you're all pretty familiar with the macOS hierarchy of the file system. This is kind of how, if you open up the root directory of your hard drive, this is what you see. You see applications, library, system, users, and then within the users folder, you see a list of your users, and then inside the users folder, you see the appropriate folders for those users. Now, whether or not you know it or not, there's a lot of hidden folders within within the structure of the OS. And this is one of the reasons why when you copy and in fact, Lawrence has experienced this. This is one of the reasons why when you copy the home folder, you want to be able to copy the home folder and not just the contents inside the folder, because unfortunately you lose all these hidden folders if you just kind of drag and drop the contents of your user folder, of course I don't have it opened here, but you would actually see more hidden folders within your user folder that you wouldn't be selecting if you just copied the select items within your user folder. So here's some basic commands that we'll use when we do some of this navigation. CD is an abbreviation for change directory. It's not CF, it's not changed folder, it's changed directory. And then you got mkdir, which is make directory, which makes sense, make a directory. And then you've got rm, which is remove directory, or well, actually it'd be rmdir. So that would be a remove directory. But this is one command that you have to really be careful with, because, and I had this geeky t-shirt that I was supposed to wear that I could show you guys that basically shows an example of the remove command. And if you use it accidentally, unfortunately, you could really you could delete the contents of your entire machine if you typed in the command that I had on the shirt that I wanted to show you guys. So you want to be real careful whenever you use RM, which kind of what I would abbreviate as wrong move, spelled without the W, but wrong move. So be careful when you use the RM command. LS is going to be for listing. So you want to see the listing of a directory, you would use the LS command. And this is one that I'm sure you've all possibly seen if you've used the terminal at all, super user do. This is one that will require the administrator password to your computer. This is basically controls the root functions of the operating system. Man page is handy because this is where you can actually see what these commands do and their appropriate options that you would type in to, like we were saying earlier, eat cereal. How do you want me to eat the cereal? The man pages basically describes those options further, and how to use those little symbols that we'll see to tell the terminal how you want it to perform those commands. Print working directory. A lot of people think that that's present working directory, which it certainly can be. It's really whatever you want it to be. It's going to get the same result, but present working directory or print working directory is PWD. And then you've got chmod, which is change mode. Now, one of the unique things about the macOS operating system that you didn't have when, before OS 10, you did not have the ability to have multiple users. And so that was one of the cool things that OS 10 added to the operating system with this Unix-like underpinning, is it had the capabilities of being able to create and separate the works of others, keeping their items separate, where you had permissions. Basically, you assigned permissions to a particular file when you create it that doesn't allow the other person to basically view those files unless you give them permissions. So, I mean, you're probably certainly familiar with that if you've ever logged into somebody else on your computer. If, like, for instance, if you have multiple users on your computer and you visit the other person's home folder, you'll see a little red negative, like, dash sign on the folder, because you don't have permission to look inside that folder. And that's the reason why you'll see that little red dash when you look in somebody else's user folder. So those permissions basically are read, write, and execute. And Q, it's easy enough to remember. Q is quit. So whenever you want to leave, like you've got a process running in the terminal and you want to get out of it, you'd press Q. So let's dive in and see what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into here. So everybody still with me? Y'all still there?
We're here.
Yes. Hey, cool. All right. Very good. Very good. Very good. So let's exit out of this. If I can do this, so it's not gonna let me do it. All right, let me see. How do I get out of full screen? Do I have to unshare my screen to get out of full screen?
Well,
Yeah, I'm not, let me go back.
there we go.
Well, somehow it's in full screen, which I'm not. There we go. Okay. All righty. So I got to go back down here. This is what makes this so. There we go. Okay. So now we'll have the terminal window there. This is kind of what I wanted to show you, what I wanted to get back at. So everybody see the terminal window there? Make that a little bit bigger. Okay, good. All right. So there's obviously there's lots of things that you can do to the terminal. You can customize it. You can make all different colors and transparency, and it's certainly customizable. I just like the basic white text on the black background. So we were talking about some of those commands that were available to you. If I hold down the Shift key along with the Escape key and the question mark, it doesn't work. Okay, well, let's see. It must be because I'm sharing my screen here. Escape, question mark. No, it's not working. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if it's because I'm sharing the screen that's not working. But basically, with that command, with the Shift key and Escape question mark, you can display all of the terminal commands, and there's tons of them, of which we'll go over maybe 4 or 5.
Tim, this is Taylor. Real quick, when you share, you can share a window or you can share a screen, and I think you're sharing a window, which means it will only show what's in that window. If you share your whole screen, you'll see what's being popped.
Okay. All right. Let me go back then. Let me go back. Sorry, guys. I'm glad everybody's still with me here. Thank you. Okay, so go back to my screen. So that would be the desktop, right?
Yeah. There
okay.
we go.
Okay, so now you can see the screen. Okay, with the keynote in the background there. Okay, so now let's see what happens when I incorporate the Shift key into this. Let's see if that's, nope, still doesn't do it. Well, that's weird. Okay, well, we'll move on from there. So I'm going to start in by typing a little command here called, well, let me make this bigger so y'all can see this first most. Yeah, let's see. I'll make it big enough for you to see there. There we go. Okay, so there's a little command that I can type in called Figlet, which means nothing, but if I type in Dallas Apple Core, it creates a little banner there, which is kind of cool. Dallas Apple Core with a command called Figlet. Date obviously gives us today's, oh, excuse me, I got to type an E after it. That's one thing also, computers are pretty stupid because they do exactly what you tell them to do. They can't say, well, I think he meant to put an E on that, and that's meant to be date. If you don't do it exactly like you're supposed to, then you're not going to get the expected results, unfortunately, because the computer doesn't think for you. So basically, I type in the E on there and put the E on the date, and I get today's date, Saturday, September the 12th. If I type in Cal, C-A-L, I get a calendar on my screen. If I want to know who's logged in, I can type in who am I, and it tells me who I am, that I'm the one that's logged into the computer. If you ever want your computer to not go to sleep for a particular period of time, you could type in the word caffeinate. So you could put your computer on and you tell it with this -T the amount of time that you want it to go without sleeping, and then in the appropriate number would be the number of seconds. So 150,000 seconds basically is going to make. I mean, if I type, okay, I'm getting the internet not stable. I'm sorry. Everybody see that? Okay. I just got a message. Anyhow, so I can tell the computer to basically not go to sleep for 150,000 seconds. So, and I just lost because it's basically taking over the terminal here. All right, Q. Oh, good, fantastic. I don't know why some of these commands don't work when I'm in screen sharing. There we go. Nope, still not working. Q. Nope. We just, for the sake of time, we'll just do this again. My apologies. For some reason, some of these commands are not. There we go. We're back where we're supposed to be. So let's just start off by some of the ones that you'll probably actually use. Like I said earlier, ls is list. That gives you a list of the this is the list of my home folder, and I can check and see what folder I'm in by hitting the present working directory or print working directory, PWD. It tells me that that's the path basically to where I am. I'm in the users folder in the T Baker users folder, and then what's inside that is this is the contents of my user folder. And if I want to navigate to one of these folders, I can hit the CD, which is change directory, or we said folders are now directories, and go to documents. And excuse me if I type it correctly, like I said, computers are stupid. CD doc UMENTS. Sorry. There you go. Now, if I do PWD, present working directory, now I'm actually within the documents folder. And if I hit LS, it lists everything that's in the documents folder, of which I can, I can scroll back up if I like and see all the contents of my documents folder. And once again, this terminal window is bigger than my screen. That's what the problem is. There we go. Need to pull it up there so I can see. That's what I was missing before, is the command line. So if I want to clear that, for the most part, I just type in clear, C-L-E-A-R, which clears the terminal and puts it back up at the top here. There we go. I guess y'all can see that okay. So now we're in that directory, and let me see if I can do this. If I can bring up a Finder window, and so y'all can see that okay. And if I go into the users folder and I go into my home folder and I go into the documents folder and I open that up, and now hopefully if I can keep both these screens up here, well, I can't. Let's see. Maybe I'll resize the terminal window so you can see that. I want you to be able to see that if I can. No, it's not gonna let me do it. Okay, we'll come back to it. All right, so there's the documents, and there's the, basically the directories, the folder, files, contents. So while I'm in there, in the documents folder, I can tell what the folder that I'm in, PWD, basically tells me my path, the path that I'm in. And if I want to make a directory, I would go mkdir, and then I could just name this up. And then this is where I can use what they call the escape space. So if I want to type the word Apple Core, if I type in the space, it'll tell me that it can't do it. And oh, let's just see. It should have understood that space. Make a liar out of me. I don't think it made that folder. No, it did not. Okay, it didn't give me an error. I'm not seeing the bottom of my screen here. This is weird. Okay. Okay. This is difficult doing this remotely like this. Okay, so now if I do a CD, APPL, I think I typed it with an S. Hold on a second. Yeah, so it doesn't exist in there. So what you have to do basically is you have to mkdir and then Apple, APPLE, and then that backspace, then a space, and then CORPS. And now it's actually made that. And now I can change directory to Apple, CORPS. And that's working. Okay, well, that is bizarre because I did this. Making a liar out of me. This is the demo goblins. Yeah. Well, there it is. It made the folder, you know, because there it is. There's the folder with nothing in it. Okay. So there's the folder. Y'all can see that. Not in a string. I don't know what that. So anyhow, to remove that, basically it's rm remove directory apple, and then the escape space, and then a space, and then corps. And now if I go back to the you can see that that folder is no longer there. What I really wanted to do is show you that basically live, so you could actually see. And in fact, that's what it did. It actually created a folder called Apple. It left off the corpse because it didn't understand the space. So it basically made a directory, Apple, of which there's nothing in. So if I want to remove that directory, I come back over here and I go, and I can actually use the up and down arrow keys to recall previously used commands. So if I flip through here with the up arrow key, you can see that the terminal remembered my previous commands, and I can just find the one that I want to use by going with the up and down arrows. So if I go back to the remove directory, make directory, there's remove directory. If I want to remove Apple, I can do that. And now if I go back out to the Finder window, you can see that the Apple directory is gone. You know, that directory that we created is gone there. So now another thing you can do, and this is kind of what the GUI does, is if you want to open an application, like for instance, if I wanted to, trying to think of something that I could open up without causing a ruckus here. So you go OPEN-A, because you're going to open an app, and I want to open up Keynote, say for instance, if I spell it correctly. And if I do this, the screen should change to it should launch Keynote for us. There it did. It put us in Keynote. Now I'm basically back in my presentation. So I'm going to go back to the terminal. So, and obviously I said clears the screen, and exit will actually exit the terminal. It just means this process is completed. That's one of the things, that's one of the important steps, obviously, that you want to remember when you're using the terminal. You actually want to exit, that you want to tell it that you want to leave. It's kind of like, you know how important it is to actually do a shutdown and go to Apple menu and go to shutdown. You just don't reach around the back of your Mac and turn it off. And this is kind of what you have to do with the terminal. You want to make sure that the process is completed before you exit the terminal. You don't want a runaway process going in the background. So, and let's see. I will look through my list here and see what I may have missed that I kind of wanted to show you guys. So let's quit the terminal right for this moment. Go back to the Keynote. Go back where I was. Okie dokie. So there's the terminal. So here is, I'm not gonna perform these steps. This is really odd doing this because I don't see anybody and I can't hear anybody. So I hope y'all are still there. Sorry to keep asking that, but I just don't hear everybody going, ah, man, when's this guy gonna stop talking? Anyway, I'm not going to actually perform these steps, but this is one of the terminal things. This is one of the uses of the terminal that you'll encounter, especially with the new operating system, Catalina. Sometimes in order to do things, you have to disable what they call the system integrity protection, the SIP. And you may run across an article that says, to be able to perform this function, unfortunately, you have to get around gatekeeper, something that you can't install or something you can't use because the Apple OS is prohibiting you from installing that application or feature. One in particular that I ran into is that with FaceTime, you cannot use an external camera. You can only use the built-in cameras in your iMac or your MacBook Pros or MacBooks. You can't use an external camera. So there is a program called EcoCam, And EcoCam will allow you to use your phone as an external camera, but unfortunately in FaceTime, you're not able to invoke it. But if you disable System Integrity Protection, SIP, you can go to FaceTime and find that once you've installed EcoCam, you now find the ability to use EcoCam as an external camera in FaceTime. And obviously during this period of COVID, when we're having to do all these remote presentations and Zoom and FaceTime and stuff like that, it's nice to be able to expand your capabilities. And that's one of the things that I ran into. I really wanted an external camera so I could show people things while I'm in FaceTime, and without having to take the phone off my, or the camera off my face on the computer. Say for instance, I could just switch cameras to my phone, which would be cabled to the computer, and start EcoCam within FaceTime and be able to use my phone to look around and show somebody what I was trying to show them, instead of having to physically go get the item or whatever it is and bring it back and hold it up in front of the computer. I could actually just take my phone and show it to them. So for the most part, you'd have to restart your Mac. You hold down the Command R key until you see the Apple, and now you're in what Apple calls the recovery mode. And from that, you'll go to the Utilities menu and you'll launch the terminal. That black, intimidating, non-lickable icon. Anyway, so at that prompt, you'll type in this word called CSR util disable. And you're basically, at this point, you're disabling the system integrity protection by typing that command. And you should get a message in the terminal telling you that the SIP was disabled. And then from the Apple menu, pick restart. And if you want to re-invoke it, for the most part, you follow these same steps. You go back, restart your Mac, hold down the Command R key, launch the terminal, and then you re-invoke your SIP by typing in the same CSR util. And excuse me, I'm sorry, this is checking the status. This is actually checking the status. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ahead of myself here. I need to be looking at the screen and not at my notes. So CSR util status basically tells you whether or not SIP is disabled or enabled. And so the next note here on my keynote, basically to re-enable it, you would type in this command, the CSR util enable, to turn the system integrity protection back on, which is a good thing. You don't want to turn it off and then just continue to leave it off. You'll after you use that particular feature, you really do want to go back and re-enable system integrity protection. This was one that I ran into recently, and once again, the reason why I can't really demonstrate these for you is because I'd have to go through a reboot process and do. I mean, I could demonstrate it live, but I can't demonstrate it here remotely. But for the most part, if someone gets the wild idea to, say for instance, remove their administrator privilege, or if they delete the user that they've created that is the admin user to their computer, and then you find out that you've got all these standard users on your computer and you don't have an admin. Well, a standard user cannot create an admin user on your Mac. So, but you can, by using the terminal, create an administrator user. Once again, if you find yourself in a situation where you've accidentally deleted, or someone else has actually deleted, like in my case, I'll have a client, say for instance, that that accidentally deleted, say for instance, their admin user, and when they went to install a piece of software, they didn't have the admin privilege to be able to do it. So I had to actually recreate an admin user on their Mac, and this is basically the process. Once again, requires the terminal to do this. And so you basically start off by putting in what they call single user mode this time, which is the Command and the S. And so you're powering on the Mac, you're starting the Mac up from the off state for the most part. And when it's coming on, you hold down the Command and the S key while it's powering on, and you wait until you see this command, basically the colon and the / and root, telling you it's actually in the root directory. You don't have to do anything this will just appear for the most part when you start up in single user mode, and you'll see a bunch of stuff obviously fly across the screen before that's why I said you have to wait until you actually see that, because you're going to see a lot of other gibberish that's going to fly across the screen. And then you type this /sbin/fsck-fy. Now I know that's just total nonsense. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to you. But for the most part, typing this command, what it does is it looks in this folder and it performs this command with this argument. So you kind of have a better understanding from the earlier lesson for the most part, because this is, you can see right here that this kind of looks like a directory. So basically that's what it is. There's a hidden folder in your user folder called SBin, which is, this is where the bin or the folder where super user items are contained. That's SBin. There's also one in there called bin. So, but this is the SBin folder. This is the super user bin. This is the one that contains all the really important stuff that you can really screw your Mac up with. So for the most part, you get into this one and you type FS. This is actually does a check disk for the most part and performs it to that argument. And then you type in that SBin, the super user bin command called mount. And what that does is that mounts that volume on the desktop. And from there, you basically remove the RM command was remove, and it goes into this directory, the VAR directory. These are hidden. You don't see these into the variable database. In other words, there's a database of variables that's in that hidden folder, and you tell it to remove a file called .apple setup done. And so you're actually removing that by going into this hidden folder and removing that item. Then you reboot the computer, and cool enough, after the reboot, you see the setup assistant again, just like you get when you buy a new Mac, and you go through the setup system, and it'll prompt you to create a new user, and that new user will automatically have administrator privileges, unless of course you demote it. But by default, when you create the user in the setup assistant, the user is an admin user. So anyway, let me see where we got. So to summarize, for the most part, use a terminal app to run a shell. And I didn't explain to you that basically Apple ships, the macOS ships with, maybe 6 different shells for the most part. And there's a default depending on which OS you're running. The most commonly used one is what they call a bash shell, B-A-S-H, and it stands for born again shell, because there was actually an SH shell, and the bash, the born again shells, the bash shell is what the default is up until you get to Catalina. And Catalina actually changes the default shell to Z shell, which is ZSH, the Z shell. And it performs just like the bash shell, except for it's got some further enhancements, of which I can't tell you what the differences are. And I don't know that it would be worthwhile if we even looked it up. But for the most part, this shell provides a command line interface to the Mac OS, a variety of Unix, of which the non-graphical portion is known as Darwin. And Darwin is basically what sits inside. It is the actual operating system of the computer. It's just the GUI sits on top of that. So that's why you see all the pretty icons. So if everybody's interested, we can go just a little bit further. So we can actually add features to the terminal through a program called Homebrew. And this is where we kind of get a little bit advanced here for the most part. But Homebrew will allow you to add some really cool additions, or what they call packages. This is a package manager. There are several, but Homebrew is the most popular for the most part. So you would go to this particular website, you go to brew.sh basically, and it comes up with this page called Homebrew. And then to install Homebrew, you just copy and paste this command here, right along through here. And what that does, that tells the terminal to go out to this web address for the most part and install the Homebrew package to your Mac. So I'm sorry, I passed it. And you can download a little cheat sheet if you want, for the most part, and how to use Homebrew. So now we can actually do some fun stuff here. So see if I can switch back to the terminal. Okay, it's not letting me use the command tab for some reason when I'm in this. Looks like I have to go. Now you lost my cursor. Hello. I can't even hit the stop share button. My cursor is submarined here. I have no pointer. There we go. Now we're back. Everybody still with me?
Still good.
Good, wonderful. Okay, good. Okay. All right. If I made this window a little bit, I don't know what, it's made it too big for me. Let's see if I can shrink it down a little bit. There we go. That may help a little bit. There we go. Okie dokie. So now with some fun stuff, let's see if I can make this work. So we'll type in the word say, and then we'll tell it what voice we want to use. We want to use Alex, and then we'll say hello. And oh, sorry, I didn't use something I should have used here. Can actually use, instead of that escape space, I can do this properly if I put a space in there and then I hit quotation marks. Yep, sorry. There we go. Now it should say, yep. All right, not going to say it for me. Let me find my notes here. What am I doing wrong? Well, I'll come back to that. So for the most part, if you type in LS, it's list, but if you make the mistake and you type in SL, so if you type in list backwards, you get a steam locomotive. I thought that's, it's kind of amusing. One of the other commands that you can install with Homebrew for your enjoyment is, I know all of you are familiar with After Dark. For the most part, you can put in ASCIIQUARIUM, and you get a little aquarium made up by terminal characters for the most part. If you want to quit that, you just hit the Q key and come back to it. And then if I wanted to see some information about my Mac, an interesting little piece of software that you can install with Homebrew is called NeoFetch. NeoFetch gives you all this nice information. This is basically a description of what I'm running, how long it's been up, how many packages I've installed in Brew, the shell that I'm using, the resolution of my screen, so forth and so on. So the type of processor I've got, out of memory, this and that. So I can clear that. And if you run a program called Top, this is the built-in one with the terminal as it is. It gives you a listing of all the things that you basically would see if you opened up the activity monitor on your Mac. Well, the nice thing about Brew is you can open up, you can create, you can install one that's a lot prettier to look at called Glances, Glances. Glances actually gives you a much nicer looking interface and to show you very descriptively all kinds of information, my CPU usage, my network, total amount of memory, my IP address, all kinds of good information in a much cleaner interface. So Q again to get out of that. Let's see. Oh, okay. So here's one that's particularly interesting. This was something that's been in here for years. This comes actually from this you don't install for the most part. You just type this one in. this is from the Netherlands for the most part. And so what we're doing is we're going to a particular website through the terminal, and we can actually see, we can watch the movie Star Wars by typing in a terminal command. So there you go, 20th Century Fox, Star Wars. And if you've got all day long, you can sit here and watch an ASCII version of Star Wars: The New Hope. And I won't bore you too much longer here. I do want to get to the little graphic here once the opening screen finally goes by here. Come on. All right, there's a lot of reading. Come on. Let's get by this. I just wanted to show you this. Here we go. Here's the starship. There we go. There's a starship. Have a little battle. And then there's R2D2, and so you can spend all day watching this. Anyhow, we're gonna quit out of this. I'm gonna hit Command C and leave it here. Oh, actually, let's see. You know what? I didn't write down how to get out of this. Q doesn't work. Escape doesn't work. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do something we shouldn't do, just for the sake of time here. It's gonna have to quit the terminal. My apologies. I'm sorry. Terminate. Go back and relaunch it. So sorry. I did exactly what I told you she shouldn't do. So, but I didn't want to sit there and jack with it. So I'm going to move on my keynote here. That's just some little fun things that you can do here. And I started to get some artifacts on my screen. So let's see. So how do you learn more about the terminal? So if I haven't shown you enough and you still have an interest after I've done this presentation, for the most part, where do you go from here? So Google is your friend for the most part. You can get on Google and find anything for the most part. If you wanted to find out how to do something on your Mac using the terminal, for the most part, just Google it. But also, like getting a doctor's opinion, you don't want to just visit one website and you use what they've created as the terminal command to do what you might think might help you. You want to search several sites for the most part and get a combined opinion that indeed what you're typing in is the correct command. And obviously there's lots of websites you can go to. One in particular obviously is offered by Apple, which offers you a terminal user guide through the Apple support website. And you can also download it into iBooks. I don't think they call it iBooks anymore. I think it's called Books now, but you can basically download a copy of this into the. And let's see what happened. What did we do? What did we do? There we go. Okay, what happened here? There we go. Anyhow, there's all kinds of websites you can go to. This one in particular, I can certainly show it to you. It's basically a Unix tutorial. It starts off very, very basic and gets very, very advanced, and it's something that's free and it's out there. So if you really want to completely learn how to use the terminal, you can visit this website, and I can certainly click on that and show it to you if you like, or you can copy it down, or I believe I'm not sure how this is going to be distributed, but I can forward or post these websites for you. This is another one called linuxcommand.org, and then there are also a ton of podcasts out there. I'm a big podcast fan. This one in particular by podfeet.com. This is TTT, stands for Taming the Terminal. This is actually something that Lynn Wagley, who I think is online with us. This is a site that Lynn forwarded to me, and it was a wonderful discovery, and I'm so glad that Lynn found this for me. This is called Taming the Terminal, and it's now a book, and it's a very, very good ebook that you can download, and it's also a website and a podcast made into a podcast, and it's once again extremely detailed. There's lots of books out there that you can buy in the bookstore or online through Amazon. These are my favorites. These are this one in particular is published by. This is an ebook. This is not available in print for the most part, but you can go to Take Control Books and download this book. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Dallas Apple Corps has the same privilege that the Cowtown Mac User Group does, that you can actually get a discount through Joe Kissel, because of being a Mac User Group, he'll allow you to purchase these books at a discount. And I think if Taylor doesn't have the discount code, I can certainly forward it to him. So when you visit the site as a member of the Mac User Group, you can get a discount on this particular book, Command Line with the terminal. The next one, here's the ebook. This is basically, you can download it, view it in Apple Books. This is Taming the Terminal, Technical Manual and Podcast to Master the macOS Command Line. Very, very, very good. I'm so glad that Lynn directed me to this. It's a outstanding ebook on the terminal. This one is a little bit old, but it still has a lot of very good information in it. Basically, this one covers, I think it says El Capitan for the most part. So it's, it's a bit dated, but the terminal didn't really change that much. So it's these commands that you would learn in this book certainly still apply. So I've enjoyed looking at this book also. And this one is actually not available yet. It is becoming available in October. Tweak Your Mac Terminal. This is by A Press, and this is a new book that's you can pre-order basically on Amazon. You can get a hardcover of this, which it seems like it's getting harder and harder to do, to find print versions of books that you can actually hold in your hand, because I would much rather hold a book in my hand than read it on my phone or my iPad or my computer. But now it seems like there's this predominance of ebooks, but this one you can actually buy. You can pre-order on Amazon, and generally when they're first released, they're on sale, so you probably will end up paying the $40. But I'm looking forward to this one coming out. So pretty much that's all, folks. And there's my email address, mactopia1984@att.net. If anybody has any specific questions, or if they want some additional information that I can help you with, please let me know, and I will exit out of this and look for comments. Or I see that people are actually awake. Everybody's awake. My goodness, nobody's sleeping.
Yes. I enjoyed the flashback kind of to the old BBS days when you're doing the ASCII stuff. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, well, good. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and it is rather techy, and that's one of the things. Unfortunately, when you lead a user group, you try to find something that it caters to everyone, and that's kind of hard to do. And so this one obviously was a little on the technical side, little geeky, but I hope some of you enjoyed it, and will experiment in the terminal and not be intimidated anymore.
Thank you.
Tim, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah. Sir. I just got a new iPad. I assume the Unix does not work on the iPad. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, the operating system on the iPad does not have the underpinnings of the of Unix. No. Although there is an app that simulates the terminal. I downloaded it and I played with it. I just kind of really haven't gotten into it, but
okay.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention, I always had fun with a little Unix command called cal 1752 that gets you the calendar for the year 1752, which is when in September it changed from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. So they're 2 weeks missing.
So if you type If you go into the terminal and type that you can see that in September.
You see that, yeah, right.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that's a new one. Yeah, you can have fun with the terminal. I mean, there's all kinds of things that that I didn't demonstrate that Homebrew installs into your system. But I certainly wish that I could be with y'all, live in a and do this presentation in front of the group, because in having the projector and all, and you could demonstrate certainly things that I was unable to show. But the terminal can be fun, and to me, I'm a geek. I'm a true geek, because I'm over here in Monroe talking to my mother-in-law, and her husband that passed away, my father-in-law, was an English professor, and he loved to read. And as you can see behind me, all these many books for the most part. And he read book after book after book after book. Well, I'm kind of totally the opposite. I try to read a good novel and I'll fall asleep right away. But you put a tech manual in my face, and man, I'm wide awake, and like on Red Bull, I can just be absorbed by this, by a tech manual. I love geeky stuff, but there's no way I can read, literature.
Tim?
Sir?
Just so you know, when you did that make dir command with the Apple and the Core, you actually created two directories. One was Apple and one was Core. It's a list of directories you're creating.
Okay.
So just so you need to know, you got to go back to your home directory and clean up that extra directory that's still.
Take the Core out of there. Take the Core out of there. Okay.
You can take whatever out you want out, but.
Yeah,
you've just got an extra one in there that you're going to wonder where that was in about a week.
Yeah, where did I get that? Yeah, well, it's kind of like that Apple one. When I saw that, I thought, okay, well, obviously I did create a directory, but yeah, I'm not an advanced user. I mean, this is still kind of new for me. But I mean, the Apple Core was looking for presenters, and I felt confident enough to where I thought at least I can do an introduction. And I was initially intimidated, because I wanted to re-enable my startup sound on my my 16-inch MacBook Pro. And my iMac, my 27-inch iMac, and when I performed that terminal command and re-enabled my startup sound, I thought, this is cool, So it's I've learned a lot in a short period of time. I haven't been a terminal user for years, like some of you, or you in particular probably. But this is this is kind of a new experience for me. I think everybody's muted.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation.
You bet. You bet. Happy to do it.
Thank you a lot.
I just wish we could be together so we could do it live. So, and thank you, Lynn, if you're here somewhere. I don't know that I can.
Yeah. Right there. I wanted to remind everyone that next month, my wife Francine is going to revisit the iPhone and Jazzercise. So she wanted me to remind you to wear a little bit of loose clothing, because there will hopefully be some moving. So get ready for that. And in November, we have Julie Maher, who will be talking to us about accessibility with the iPhone. So I'll see if the Firths can join us virtually for that one.
Hello?
We're here.
Okay. I tried to type into the chat, but kept misspelling. I want the flag for LS that shows invisible files starting with dot, and the flag for RM that removes files beginning with invisible files beginning with dot.
Sorry, I kind of barely caught that. Something about removing files that begin with something. I can't.
With dot.
With the dot. Okay.
Yamaha, if I it used to be if I were to drag a MIDI file from the cloud that I captured on the cloud into a thumb drive, it also would have a copy with a dot in it that would make my Yamaha crash. I don't know
the dot files are basically hidden, if I'm not mistaken. That if they have the dot in front of the file name, that's the indication that it's a hidden file.
it's hidden on the Mac, but not on the Yamaha. And if you select that that file to play, as soon as you go there, I think I have to restart my some aspect of my Yamaha. It'll go into some strange mode, and I have to do a bunch of gestures to get out of it.
Yeah.
And it used to be I could remove those files from the thumb drive. I don't want those because it doesn't. The Yamaha's operating system doesn't want them.
Okay, so you want to get them out of there so it doesn't confuse your Yamaha device. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to refer to you know, one of my books here for the most part. I am not a terminal expert. This was just an introduction, and using the remove command is, you know, like I said, could be the wrong move. You know, RM.
Yeah,
wrong
I know.
but yeah, so you, I wouldn't want to be the one to obviously pass advice on to you since I don't know 100% exactly how to do that without some experimentation, say for instance, or without, you know, reading up on it further. I apologize for not being able to accurately answer your question. But
okay, well, just the same. It was interesting because I got stuff and I learned names and stuff to go go look for in Google and stuff.
Yep.
And also maybe I'll be able to figure out how to play this all back and look for the websites you say to go to.
Yeah, there you can. One thing I did not demonstrate was the man page, which is the manual page.
Yeah,
you could
actually
type in,
and then you put it in, and you see a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you type in MAN, and then you know the RM basically remove, and it gives you all of the options how what all the options need to remove. There is actually a I'm trying to think. There is actually a in Homebrew. There's actually a better command for man, and I can't remember. Oh, I know what it is. It's TLDR. TLDR, too long, didn't read. Yeah, the TLDR command that you load with Homebrew. So in other words, if you have Homebrew installed in your terminal, you can tell Brew to install TLDR. And TLDR is an enhanced man page, and it's the TLDR stands for too long, didn't read, because a lot of people go to the man page and they're confused by, you know, all that gibberish. Well, TLDR space RM, if you type in TLDR after you install too long didn't read, for the most part from Homebrew, it gives you a really nice laid out format, line by line, of what each one of those option commands performs. So maybe that's the way you could find your answer. I mean, that sounds kind of advanced, I guess, but I think for the most part you could probably Google it for sure. But like I said, check more than one website to make sure what it's fixed to do is, you know, doesn't destroy the information. But because the RM command is, you know, can be dangerous. But as far as removing those dot files, since they're hidden, I'm sure there is a flag, like you said, that's required to move them to remove the hidden file. My apologies for not being able to accurately answer that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Bye.
You bet.
Okay, any other questions? Well, if not, I want to thank you, Tim, for being here, especially on a day that you're having some family issues. Our thoughts and prayers with you guys, and stay safe and healthy. And we look forward to a little exercising next month with Richard's wife, and that'll be a lot of fun. So be sure and join us then. We'll be sending out announcements then, and also it'll include the election slate that we discussed earlier. Be prepared to vote next month. So vote. We have lots of voting.
Yeah, lots of vote this year.
Actually,
vote early and vote often.
Yeah, excuse me. It's November, not October, that we'll be voting. So anyway, my bad. But coming up soon. So Okay, without further ado, I'm going to end the recording, and we'll see everybody next month. Take care.
Thank you, guys.